Without wasting time, we're going to shift back into this simple portrait sketch. I have an image. It's an image of an African young guy. The tonal values are very strong. That's another reason why I chose it. And it has some good shadow patterns. So I'll be talking you through my method, how I go about it. And let's go and enjoy this sketch and the whole process. So I'm going to switch over. Hopefully you can see where I am, and I'm going to try and reposition things so that you get an optimum view of this. I am using some Jumbo Faber-Castell. I've got a cutter, I've got a Derwent eraser, and I've got a lovely stump. It's just to blend. You see how I use everything, and I'll be explaining everything as I go along. If there's any problems about it creating a glare, just type in the comments and we shall try our best to resolve it. But let's crack on and let's go. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to start off with a 2B. Let's put all this away. I'm going to start off with a 2B. And I also have this on Procreate. This is on Procreate. And the reason why I've got it on Procreate, I can explain with some lines. You know, let's use red. I think red will be better. I can explain with some lines exactly what I'm doing. That's still white. Let's get red. Okay. I can explain what I'm doing, and I hope you can see. Let's make this slightly the size. The size is fine. Let's just make it slightly opaque. Okay, so let's go. The first thing I want you to understand when you look at something like this is being able to pick the shape of his head, the shape of the hair or the headgear that he's on, and you know, everything starts to fit in once we're able to get the shape. So the first thing I'm going to be sorting out is the shape of the headgear, and then the shape of his head, and then hair. So let's go. First of all, let's go straight into the headgear. You can see, I'm going to pull a few angles. There's this line that comes here straight over like this. You can see another line just almost like an angle like that, and then you can see one go like this and one go like that. Very simple, straightforward lines that would just create this lovely headgear. You know, it's just straightforward. I've simplified it, and then this one comes down, this goes across, this goes in. You do see a bit of stuff here, like that lovely angle, and I'm going to just divide it into these simple shapes. That's how I can see it at the moment, and that's all I'm going to go for at the beginning. Just very quickly going for those simple shapes, and anyone can just look at that and be able to draw these shapes. That's why the shapes are so important. So the first one, kind of like here, that's kind of like there, and then another one, I'm using a 2B, the Jumbo, so I'm a little bit out, it goes around there, and then in here, that line just goes in somewhere there, and then another one comes out slightly here. Just carefully get that in, and then it goes down again, just about that. And then over here, just leaving a few spaces, you've got a line down here, and then one that goes here. That kind of gives us the headgear. We don't see the top, but I'm just gonna, you know, put an arch on the top. That kind of gives us a nice view for the headgear. And you know, this is very straightforward stuff, you know, just to understand how that fits in and how it goes and how that works. Then the next thing is the shape of the head. Look at that, it goes down. You know, people may wonder, okay, how do you know how far to go? This is how you just ball it, because when I say ball it, I mean, you know, we're not dealing with something too detailed. We're dealing with something very simple, and we don't want to complicate it. Therefore, I'm not measuring that much. It's a simple sketch, because if you're on the train or the tube, there's actually no room to measure. You're not going to be measuring that much. So you're going to quickly go for, this is how I would quickly go for the shape, the overall shape of the head. And that's the kind of method I want people to quickly adhere to. We will get some other shapes in later, but for now, let's just go. And then this one goes straight across. It goes straight across. And now let's complete this one. There's a nice line here. There's one here. You can see how this one turns down here, and a little bit of a fly over here. So that kind of gives us that side. Now let's go for this side, which is, you can see here, the line comes out, it goes in again and over. Just a very simple start to the whole face. And the next lines will just be this one that comes down, in and out, and this one will be down, out and over. Just very simple. Again, the lines here goes in and out, and then here it goes just around there. You fly it off around here, you can see how, and then that goes here. Just a simple start. That's kind of like the simplest way, you know, to start this kind of thing. Then the next thing will be to get the axis. Then when you say the axis, it's the vertical and horizontal for each of the lines. So let's go, let's reduce this. I'm going to reduce this a bit, the size of it, just to make sure it's not too wide. There's a line that will go through, right through the middle of his face, like that. That's always we're thinking about that. And one that goes right through his eye from the middle level. I'm not going to draw that through, but at least we know where it is. One that's going to go through the nose, and one that's going to go through the mouth. Just marking those levels where they are on it. And that's all I'm going to be thinking about all the way through. So around here, we can see where we are from the shape we did, that we can get that eye level thing right there. We can get the nose, which will come a little bit under what we had here. And then the mouth, I would say almost, not exactly, but almost equidistant from where we've marked the nose down. So somewhere here, and you can see how we'd mark that across and there. That just gives us a faint idea where things are. And those are like the nose, the mouth, and the eyes level, just very quickly. This is so important, because once you can get these major landmarks, just knowing where they are, ooh, we're almost there. We're swelling, we're rolling. Okay, so the next thing, so if you remember, we went for the external shapes first. We went for external shapes. That was a very good one. External, just external shapes. That's what we did first. And the external shapes we got with angles, just simple angles. That's, you know, something moving that way, how it moves here, how it moves there, how it moves here, you know, just simple angles to show how something moves across. And the way to understand angles, I tell people, if you find it anyhow of a struggle, always remember the clock. And the clock has different angles, like you've got 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6. And you can look at this one, the nearest angle to this will be a 5 o'clock, which will be there. It's things like this that make us be, you know, get the angles things right. So we can look at a line like this. What's this closest to? This is more closest to an 8 o'clock. You know, you just look at that, would be like a 8, 7, a 9. And they can be in between, but that's the way I kind of gauge angles. Right, now let's move on to the axis, the vertical axis, which we know goes straight through. that just helps to know that goes straight through. So we've got that, we've got the sides, we've got all the areas that would seem to work. And this I would do very lightly, but because it's a demo, I've made it quite dark so that people can see exactly what I'm doing. Now, the key thing, the features, because it's so important. Before I start thinking of the features, I am going to think of the shape, the shadow shapes, and there's a number of them. So I'm going to reduce this, the size of this to get the exact shadow shapes. So watch this whole thing. I'm going to put this whole thing into one whole shape, just one whole shape. Look at this. It's almost like some sort of goggles he's got on. And this nose, I'm going to put it under one whole shape, just one dark shape and one whole shape right there. And then I'm going to have this go over here. You're going to see this shape right here. These are the fastest and quickest shadow shapes that exist in this. And that's all we want to draw. We're not thinking about eyes at the moment. All we're thinking about is these shadow shapes. So let's go. All we're thinking about is the shadow shapes, okay? And we can draw that in, just how it goes from there, goes up, comes down, goes here, and goes over here. We can tell from where that is that this will come up. It goes up. You can see it comes kind of like in the middle here, goes up there, and swiftly comes down. You can see that. That just creates a nice feel for the eye and all that shadow shape. We've not drawn the eye yet. And then the nose, there's a nice shadow shape too, which is just very thin. It cuts in, goes across, and then just curves. That's all we see. And then the mouth shadow shape, which is so strong. Remember, we've got it right in the middle where that is, you know. And then a nice smile on the guy. And then the rest of it just comes here where we've got this. It goes a little bit over. And then you can see how it bends across. So in other words, you can see that these are like the shapes that really matter. And then let's go for this one. There's a little bit here. This one comes across here and this one goes straight over. There's some little shadows coming out there, but we're not gonna overwork that at the moment. So that's kind of like where we would love to be. Very quickly, this is what I'll be thinking about. So the second thing that we need to do from where I got was to mark the axis, the vertical axis. Very quickly, we did vertical axis. And then we did the horizontal axis and just got those eyes, nose, horizontal axis, where we got the eyes, nose, and mouth. And now we went for the internal shapes, just some internal shapes that helps us, know where the darks are. Okay, those internal shapes to know where all the darks are. And then there's some other shapes which we're just going to put in. Those are not majors, but they will help us, and we're going to readjust some of the shapes as we go along. So here we can, when I look at the shape now, I can start to readjust. So for instance, here I know it's a little bit thinner, and then here I know this angle goes a little bit in, and there's a little bit more latitude to his forehead. So I've already adjusted that, and there's a nice shape here which I can put in. Just a lovely one there. We're going to come back to that. There's a little one here we can put in. I can come back to that too. And there's a lovely one here we can come back to. All these are internal shapes for now. And then even on the headgear, there's a little bit of a line here, and a line here, and a line here. All lovely internal shapes. These ones may not matter. We can use a broad stroke for that, and I'll explain that later on. Now, to get the eyes, very important. A lot of people really want to get the eyes and make sure they nail them. So because we have the nose already, I'm going to draw a straight line up. That should tell us where the first bit of eye starts. And over here, the end of the nose tells us where the dark in the eye ends. So somewhere around here, that dark in that eye will end. So I'm soon going to take away these lines because it makes it easier. But for the meantime, let's just try and put that eye in a very simple way. Just get that eye in where that black ends and how the eye goes straight in there. And then this one, it sits right at the bottom here. And you've got a lovely bit of cover right over here where you've got this dark. When you rule a line down, it comes around here. Those eyes are really far apart and they just sit right in here. So we've got those two eyes in the nice right place. And now we can see that we can actually start to see, we can, reduce a bit of the sides here just as it goes in and come together and get a few of the lines here. So in between now we've got all those shapes ready to go, but the eyes are the ones we put in first. I like that little, the way it bends there, and this one comes in. So now the eyes are embedded in there, and then we're going to do the under piece of the lip just to sit right in here. That under piece of the lip right in there. So this is all the structures that the kind of construction things that go on. And I can just put a little bit of the nose, just tiny bit of the bend in there, and a tiny bit here, and a little kind of circle feeling for the mouth over here. And now we can actually take off all these lines. So I can take the lines off. I'm going to do a little screenshot of that and then take off all the lines. So it makes it, this is all what I would think about when I'm doing this sort of thing. Now I can take all the lines away. There's no need to use the lines. The lines are just to guide us, to give us that little formula at the beginning, how things will go and how we will get the features. So the next thing we did is to then put in the features. And those features are the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. So this is now what we're going to do is to then go for all the darks. We don't need any sort of too much fuss about it, but just before the darks, I am going to go for all my dark lines. I just want the lines to have a different weight. So in the sketching thing I do, I make sure that the lines, I was actually using a 4B. It's going a bit wobbly. I'm going to go for a 6B at the moment. So all these lines I'm going to put in now are my dark lines. Let's go. So inside this eye here, just right here, there's a nice dark line. And before you get to the pupil right there, inside the eye, underneath the eye, watch that. There's a lovely dark underneath. It's just that some lines are heavier than the others. This is a heavy line under the eye right there. Inside of the eye, very important. This is dark. So I'm just going for all the lines now, all the lines inside, every little line inside. Now we get to the nose bit. This is just a line. Remember, we got the shape in. That shape goes across and it goes across. These are really dark lines. We don't see much. We just see a little thing there and it comes out. Just not really major, just the dark lines in there. Now we go to the mouth area. There's a shadow underneath which can come in around here. You can see that shadow. It's just a very light shadow before you come into the lips, which go across. You can see how that goes in, and because of the axis, we know where that cuts in right there and where this comes in here. So we've got that bit of line, and underneath is a very strong dark. So we can see how overall we've got, the lines in place. Then there's a dark line around here that leads us to the end of it, just around here and over. Now we're going to go for the around where the eyes are. Remember, we've got these shapes in, but we're not going to darken these. We're going to darken this one because this is a hard edge, and this one will just go over. This goes up and over, just like that. So these are those shadow shapes that we will keep because we're going to go into them with broad strokes, but now we're going for lines. So inside here, all this will be seen as a light line, but there's some kind of like shadow dark lines coming through, and all this area I would regard it as a dark line where this comes out there, but this will remain dark. We don't see this line, this is not there, this is dark, that is dark, and here is dark. And I think underneath here will be slightly dark, and here will be slightly dark, and maybe a little thrust in here, and then the rest of this place will be dark and here. So all the dark lines have been put in, all the features put in. Now let's go for all the darks now. That's all we need now, everything that is dark. And I'm gonna go in with that with an 8B, and I'm gonna go with that with an 8B. So now all the darks, these are dark lines we've did. Now we've got the dark shapes. Now let's take our time and just go for all these dark shapes and make sure we get them in. So dark shapes. Slowly and steadily, we're going to put the dark shapes in, and dark shapes, all the dark shapes, all the little dark shapes that need to come in. This is the time for it now. And I'm using a broad stroke. And what is the broad stroke? I'm just pulling this line now with the side of the pencil, and I'm getting something like a broad stroke in. And all this broad stroke that you're seeing now is making marks on this. These are marks that I'm making, lovely marks that I'm making, but with the side of the pencil. So don't forget that. See, all what I'm showing you today, we're going to be doing more of this during the sketch week. This is kind of like just to give you a nice taster. You know, we're getting into it. This is not part of the sketch week, but if you're willing to join and you want to learn more about these tips on all the things like the animals, figures, landscapes, you know, come, make sure, let's do it. But for now, let's enjoy this. So register, click on the link if you're interested in joining. This will be a lovely experience. Now let's go for the darks inside here. Let's go for the darks here. Just all the darks now. We can see how simplified this makes it to be. All the darks in here. And then now we go for the ones here, dark here. This is a dark under here. We're going for the lips now. There's a lovely dark on the triangle there. So don't forget, click on the link to register if you want more of this during next week's sketch week. And here we've got even lovely, I'm using the 8B, it's the side of the pencil, just taking my time, rolling it, just keeping it simple, keeping it really steady. And now I'm just going with that broad stroke into everything around here now. All that dark in the face, remember it's all the dark shapes I'm doing first. Lovely dark shapes. I'm actually moving the pencil just like I'm doing a painting. The broad stroke is like a brush stroke, just like I'm painting, but I'm painting with a pencil. So I'm going with that. It just makes it so much easier, and it makes it something that I enjoy. This is one of my best techniques, is the broad stroke, and I will be sharing that with you in sketch week 2. So you can see all the darks. I'm going to make this really dark with the broad stroke, just going in, really picking out the darks. What this does, immediately the darks start to come in, it just gives it some sort of 3-dimensionality, but we've only got 2 tones here. So only 2 tones at the moment in this sketch. And I'm really slowing this process down, you know, because normally it should be faster, but you know, this is for people to understand, be able to catch up and get it. Now, another dark shape that we're going to go for are the areas inside this face, just inside the hair, just some dark shapes and dark shapes at the back of the hair. These shapes at the back of the hair, they just fly out. They fly out in a lovely way, just lovely way fly out. And then some at the side. These are not exactly dark, but I still like how they come out. They don't need to be that perfect. It's a sketch in there, but you see them just fly out. It's a lovely headgear. So again, on top, I'm going into those places around and just making sure I've got all the darks. So I've got almost all the dark shapes in. I can see another one here where this comes in. There's a kind of like a shape here and a shape that goes down and a shape that goes up from here. All these are darks, lovely darks. Now let's go for the midtones. So the next thing will be the midtones. And I think this shadow is a lovely midtone under the nose. So let's put that one in. It's a lovely shadow. It's not as dark as the main shadow. The main shadow we can take out later on, but this one just comes just immediately after, before we get to the mouth. And then now we're going for all the middle tones. So I'm just going to put middle tones, all the middle tones, just making sure I get them. So all middle tones I'm going to put in now. You can see with the broad stroke, but I'm adding less pressure so that it's not as dark as what we had when we did the darks. And now let's go for this one, which is the next tone after this. You're going to see how they both combine. And then a few of those midtones come up around the nose area here and around the nose area here. And you're going to see those midtones also come up around the forehead here. You can see that forehead and just the shape of it. We can just bring that in slowly and steadily, just slowly and steadily, just start to bring in those shapes. Now let's go for some of the midtones in the hair, which are very strong. There's a nice headgear shape here. Look at that. It's a lovely sort of hairdo. This one just freaks out from this side. And all these are midtones. I'm actually just going to go with the broad stroke and shade that in very smoothly. This one is a bit lighter. So this I would keep as a bit lighter one. Just go very light on it. So these are the next ones upwards. And then the hair, I would say, is also still a mid-tone, but it's got a lot of variations inside of it. You can see the variations it's got inside of it. There's some darks. Well, I'm trying to pull those darks in between and just keep it like that. Keep it simple, keep it steady. And now let's just still work off with the eye. Make sure that that's strong. I've gone back into the eye just to make sure all those areas where I left off, like some dark. So I'm just going back into that before I go into the lights. So the next thing will be to bring out all the lights. Actually, before the lights, I want to make sure I cover all those midtones because it's easy to leave them out. You know, you've got some here, and I'm just using the broad stroke in a smudgy way now, just to fill up the areas where this really shows. Like, want to make sure that only the light shows, only the light. And in here and around here, you know, only the light I'm looking for to, I want to leave the light. The light's the only thing I want to leave. The rest of it should not really stand out. I want it to really be only the lights to show in those areas. So slowly and steadily, we're building up. And now let's go for some midtones under here. I'm just going to do these ones very lightly because this is almost getting to the end of where we can see much. This is very light. We're still on those midtones. And I'm using the broad stroke just to come in and put these lines where they're supposed to be. And this is the simple way, you know, just to capture a feeling of this, a simple way to capture a feeling of, you know, a portrait. I've specifically chose this kind of picture because it also has strong tonal values, which is really good. Those strong tonal values help us understand tone. And when you're picking a picture that you want to use for your references, and maybe it's not a commission but something you choose yourself, I would say always choose the ones that have a strong tonal language to them, and it makes you understand the differences in where the tones are, because it will show very clearly. Okay, I'm gonna take away, because those lines came back. I'm gonna get a dark line in here. You're gonna see that dark line just in here, that dark tone. Just keep that heavy and keep that on there. Lovely heavy line over here. And then just out of it, there's these darker lines just stringing out from where it is on the inside. Okay. Now, just before we move on into the lights, you're going to notice that there's some edges, like the transition from here to here is soft. So this is where the stump comes in. So the stump is just going to simply keep that on a blended level so that it feels more natural. And even the shadow under here, it's a soft shadow. So we don't want it to be too strong. It's a soft one. You know, so we've left that as a soft one. And some of the shadows around here, they're soft. So this softens, it also merges the dark with the mid-tone. Very good to sort that out. And even the hair over here, I think it has a very nice softness to it. So we can actually soften that. Just soften that. And some of the body over here, I would soften this too because it's so soft. We've got that collarbone here, and yeah, we've got a nice tone over here. So far we've got what we did there. I just want to make sure is the next thing we did was to bring in the stump, and that stump just helped us to blend the dark and mid-tones just to create some interest. Now I'm going to use my eraser, Dr. Derwent eraser, to bring out some of the lovely lights. Like there's a lovely one at the corner there. So I'm just going to go in around where the nose is and just really get that shape of that shadow before it hits the mouth. Underneath, it goes round and it curves. It's a beautiful, beautiful tone. And then inside the lip, you have this lovely light tone. It just shows you where the lip bends in, and that's lovely. And then underneath that lip, there's another beautiful light tone underneath. All over here, you've got this lovely light on the nose. It comes in here, also comes in there, and shows up on the nose on this side and shows up on the nose on that side. Inside the eyes, there's a line just before that dark circle inside the eyes. It's so strong. You want to make sure you don't miss that out. So you make sure that goes in. And around here, just play around with this, and you're going to see how it brings out the side before that shadow. And then there's some other parts where the light really comes in strong. Remember, if you're interested in this, you really want to have some fun with us next week, register, click on the link, and make sure you are up for this, sketch week where we're going to really explore all these techniques in the fullest. I'm going now to the forehead to bring out the lights. Bring out more lights there. Beautiful lights around here. Just lovely lights all in that forehead area. Take those ones away. And let's get some, even some textures in here, even though they're not light, but I can come back into them. And yeah. So don't forget, if you're watching this and you want to learn more, Sketch Week, click on the link, register now. We're going to have some real fun doing this all through next week. You will come across with some lovely tips and lovely techniques. So now with all what we've done now, is to get out all those lovely lights, which was great. But now we're going to go back into it with a 2B and get some real nice hatching into this. So we're going to hatch, and the hatching technique I use, I kind of curve things. I like to curve it along the form, just curve it so it really brings out the beauty of the form. Just before I continue there, I just want to soften this so it feels more soft and akin to his face. So let's go in with some darks, and then we'll finally go in with the hatching. So back to some darks, just some areas where we might have just lost a little bit of the darks there, like inside that lip, to really feel natural. So we're going in there, and a nice little feel for that smiley bit that comes in there. And there's a tone here, and we're gonna do the rest with the hatching, so we don't want to overwork that. Inside here, inside there, this eye, you know how it curves and goes in, and over here we've got the nice tips coming out there. This just lovely bits here. I'm just filling out this before we go into the hatching. I said I'll go over that, and this just very lightly a kind of mid-tone. And here let's just give this a lovely tone also. So overall, let's come in to push this over. There's some dark hair, like how the hair goes in, that goes straight. There's this, a lovely feel of the neck coming down there. Then it loses some intensity. Now let's go into the hatching. We've done all those darks. Let's go into the hatching. So watch carefully how I do this. I've seen a form here, and I'm gonna go with the pencil and just mark it and hatch it in a curvy way to follow the form. And here, watch how I curve it. So what I'm doing is things like this to follow the form, how it goes round the form. So that's how I'm going round it. If I see this one go this way, I can cut that through. This goes straight, so I'm going all the way straight with that one. These ones near here, they curve and they go in, so I'm also doing that. I can run some over here because I like how they go across. Rembrandt was the master of this. That's why I actually call this Rembrandt hatching. And here, look at this lovely one that comes off here. It's so beautiful. It just comes from the side. And here I can cut them back in, just slightly hatching it now. I can come back in here and hatch all this just by the side. I'm using the tip now. This is not broad stroke. The nose very lightly here just to show that curve and how it leaves off. Inside here, there's a nice little feeling of a curve. Look at that curve, how it curves. And just a slight little curve inside here too. You're going to feel how that comes in, and I've just used some of those curvy strokes in there. The nose curves in slightly, so I've got that little kind of curve in there. And then underneath, I've gone again for the lip where some of this nice curves come in. You can feel how that comes across. It's a lovely bit of lip width and everything. And then here, I'm just going to darken that. I'm still on the Rembrandt hatching thing. I'm coming in here and going straight in and adding tone. Do not forget, if you want more of this, sketch week is next week. We're doing portraits, we're doing figures, and we're doing landscape and animals. And these same techniques will apply. Let's come in here, the Rembrandt strokes, we come in again, the tip. So click on the link in this channel somewhere in where we put the description. You are going to see the place where you can join, and let's make sure we take our sketching to the next level. You can see how everything is kind of roughish. It's not like very hyper realism like some people do. This has some energy to it. People always ask, what's the difference between a sketch and a drawing? And I always say the sketch still has that energy in it, like that feeling of life in it. It's not overworked. And that's what we want to have in this whole week, is that having that ability to sketch anything, anywhere, with confidence. That's the key thing. I'm now just, so those hatching, I call them, I'm going to put in brackets, Rembrandt hatching. I made that up. It's not the real word for it. It's just hatching, curved hatching. And now I'm just going to go into this with some lines here and there. Some curves around here just to, denote the feeling of the hairdo. Even here, just some bunches in the middle just for that hairdo. Some bunches again just to change the texture a bit. And then some bunches here for that hairdo that goes down. I'm still working on the hatching. The tip of the pencil this time, it brings out the form in a way nothing else does. And that just works in a lovely way. So I don't have my mono zero eraser here. The mono zero eraser is smaller than the electric one, and it would have helped me to get out even smaller highlights here. So that's one for me to remember, to make sure I have from the sketch week. Again, inside here, so final thing is just details. This is the final place we are now. The final place we are now is all about the details. So just little things that matter, like that line there. It might even be a tribal mark. I come from Nigeria. We have a tribal mark. I didn't get one, but I think it was a thing you did for identity, so that if someone got lost, they would know where they've come from. It was a big thing, and it was also in vogue in those days. Way back, my mom told me she had some of these tribal marks on her skin. And yeah, so this is, but let's go back into the drawing. Enough of history there. Now let's go in and just details now, just going into it. Any area where I think might need a bit of refining, and just work on that area and just bring it up to, and just get the shapes really, and everything, just how it will all come together. The dark lines here, a bit of something more texture around here. And it's the simplicity of handling the sketch in this way that really makes it interesting. And that's what we're going to be doing in Sketch Week. I hope you guys are ready for this, because it is going to be consuming. It is going to take a lot of your endurance factor, because some of you are going to be sketching along. The pictures and everything will be provided. Not like this one I'm doing. This is just kind of like a taster to warm you up. This is not Sketch Week. This is just to show some people who might be thinking, oh, because some people thought it was a scam. They said, how could it be? How could it be? What is this guy about? Well, now you know the Addictive Sketcher. You've seen it now. You can go tell your people, tell your guys, they're like, this guy is serious, man. He ain't joking. He did a live show for free today, so he must be saying something. He must be doing something. He must be in his right mind. He ain't crazy. Yeah, so that's it. We're going on. So I'm gonna leave that area now and just go and do some Rembrandt strokes at the bottom, and then we'll end it. Because it is almost 3 o'clock, and I plan not to use more than an hour, even though we had some delays. But you know what? We're still on time, guys. We're still on time. So here we go. I'm using those Rembrandt strokes, just putting them where I feel they can go in and around this figure, and slowly and steadily I can face out. Let me just put some highlights in the hair. Just want to put some highlights in the hair, just to make sure those lovely bits that come out, maybe one there, one here, inside here, a few highlights just to show some movement in that hair. And look, voila, look, the beauty of this thing is that you can get a force behind it. And if you're a painter and you've always wanted to sketch, without having to always go through gridding when you do your paintings, well, this angular system that I've showed today might be just something that you'll be looking forward to. And you might not be concerned about the tones we've put in today. You might just want to know how to get um, the the shape on without having to labor through it and get all that kind of lines and lines and lines, or even tracing, but you just want to know how to go about this in a straightforward way. Well, this is why the power of sketching helps. It's the first foundation in a painting, and it's like your ticket to get into every part of your painting. Is the foundation. Once the sketch is good, I can tell you everything else flows. Everything else flows. All right, so let's go. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter and this area a little bit darker. And here we are. So that I would like to end here. You can see just, I think this shadow shape is more straight and down. But remember, I tell people when they say, oh, it's not perfect, there's something blah, I tell, look, it's a sketch, bruv. It's just a it's just a sketch. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that taster, just something to show to warm us up into sketch week. Yeah, something to really bring us into that spirit of sketching, something to make us have that love and bring back the joy, bring back the vibe, bring back the energy, just bring back that love for drawing with a simple pencil. We've not gone out of this zone. So guys, don't forget, I hope you enjoyed the demo, and I hope you enjoyed the process, and I hope I wasn't too fast, and I hope I wasn't too slow, because if you're too slow, you bore people to death. If you're too fast, you stress people out. You know, it's about getting the balance. But, you know, with the way I've explained things, I'm sure people can understand and grasp it. So if you're sitting on the fence and you're thinking of registering, but you're not sure, and you're thinking, would this be a waste of time or not? Well, try it for a tenner, bruv. Come on, let's do it. So thank you so much. Once again, I'll just show you the images again. Click on the link in the bio. It's just the way I've decided to go about it. Very, you know, straightforward sketching, not overworking anything, just keeping it free. A force of the spirit of sketching, you know, the features and everything, and the way I've tried to plan it out. This is what we will be doing and more. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish you the best. And don't forget, let's meet on Monday, 7:30 UK time, and let's do more of this. Thank you. And God bless. Show them. Oh, yes, guys. Thank you.